Manchester United's pursuit of midfield reinforcements shows no sign of slowing down. The Old Trafford club, in the midst of another busy summer window, have now been linked with a rather intriguing name from Spain, Eduardo Camavinga of Real Madrid. The Red Devils have been operating with a somewhat depleted midfield unit. Christian Eriksen's departure earlier in the window has left a noticeable gap in Erik ten Hag's squad, while promising youngster Toby Collier has been shipped out on loan to West Bromwich Albion to gain valuable championship experience. United's recruitment strategy has long placed emphasis on midfield solidity, and they had, until recently, been heavily connected with Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba. The Cameroonian is regarded as one of the brightest young talents in the Premier League, but his price tag has proven to be a sticking point. Brighton, well known for their tough negotiating stance, are said to have slapped an eye-watering valuation of £120 million on Baleba's head. While United admire the 21-year-old's tenacity and physicality, they are reluctant to be drawn into what could amount to another record-breaking transfer. This has forced the hierarchy at Old Trafford to look elsewhere, with Spain emerging as fertile ground for potential solutions. Spanish outlet Fitches reports that United have now turned their attention to Eduardo Camavinga, a player who once carried the weight of immense promise upon his teenage shoulders. Camavinga, despite his undeniable quality, has not always been first choice under Carlo Ancelotti. The Frenchman's versatility, able to operate as a holding midfielder or in more advanced positions, has occasionally counted against him, with Madrid often preferring more specialized options in key encounters. Indeed, last season saw Camavinga make just 19 league appearances for Los Blancos, a modest return for a player of his stature. While he has still featured heavily across cup competitions and Europe, questions remain as to whether he has fully realized his potential in the Spanish capital. Madrid, for their part, have not been entirely closed to the idea of selling. Financial fair play considerations, coupled with the need to balance the books after several years of marquee investments, mean that a sizable offer could well tempt Florentino Perez and his board into negotiations. Reports in Spain suggest that Los Blancos would be willing to part ways with the 21-year-old should an offer in the region of €80 million be placed on the table. For United, this represents a far more attainable figure than the astronomical sum demanded by Brighton. Camavinga's track record is not to be sniffed at. Since joining Madrid in 2021, he has made over 180 appearances across all competitions, an impressive tally for a player still so young. His contributions, though not always headline-grabbing, have been steady and dependable. The Frenchman has chipped in with 4 goals during his time at the Santiago Bernabeu, though his primary value lies in his energy, ball-winning ability, and his capacity to transition play from defense to attack. His maturity on the pitch belies his age, a quality that would no doubt appeal to Ten Hag. Trophies, too, have come thick and fast for Camavinga. He has already collected 11 winners' medals with Real Madrid, including 2 Champions League triumphs, a haul that many seasoned professionals would envy. United supporters would surely welcome a player with such pedigree. The Premier League, however, presents a different sort of challenge, faster, more physical, and less forgiving. The question, then, is whether Camavinga could adapt quickly enough to provide the stability United crave. For Madrid, losing Camavinga would represent the parting of ways with one of their most exciting prospects of recent years. Yet with the Galacticos never short of ambition in the transfer market, sacrifices are often necessary to make room for the next superstar arrival. As the summer window ticks on, the tug-of-war for midfield talent continues. Manchester United's next move will reveal whether they are genuinely prepared to test Real Madrid's resolve, or whether Camavinga remains, for now, another name to add to the long list of speculative links swirling around Old Trafford. Gianluigi Donnarumma is once again at a crossroads in his career, with the Italian goalkeeper now searching for a new club after being dropped by Paris Saint-Germain. The French champions have already moved on, bringing in Lucas Chevalier as their new man between the sticks. The decision to sideline Donnarumma comes largely from manager Luis Enrique's preference for a goalkeeper with a different profile, while the fact that Donnarumma has only a year left on his contract has further hastened his exit from the Parc des Princes. At Manchester United, the situation in goal has been far from convincing. The club has yet to find a truly dependable presence in that position, with both of their current senior goalkeepers facing scrutiny. Last weekend's defeat to Arsenal highlighted the problem once more, as Altay Bayındar's costly mistake handed the Gunners a 1-0 victory. Andre Onana, who was signed to be a long-term solution, has also been guilty of high-profile errors since his arrival, fueling doubts over whether United can genuinely compete at the top without an upgrade in goal. The pressure on United's hierarchy to act has therefore increased, particularly given the ambition of the new sporting project under Ineos and the expectations of supporters who demand progress. Calls for a new number one have grown louder, and in Donnarumma, United see the availability of a goalkeeper who, despite his inconsistencies, remains widely regarded as world-class. At only 25 years of age, the Italian still has his best years ahead of him and would arrive with a wealth of experience, having already won the European Championship with Italy and competed regularly in the Champions League. However, any move to bring Donnarumma to Old Trafford is not without complications. Former Premier League striker turned ESPN pundit Jan-Age Vertoft has suggested that the club must first resolve their existing situation in goal. Speaking to the Manchester Evening News, he argued that United cannot afford to carry 3 senior goalkeepers on their books, both financially and structurally. Manchester United need a goalkeeper if they are to have a realistic hope of finishing in the top 6, Vertoft explained. Donnarumma is a world-class keeper, and I understand there's still a possibility he could end up in Manchester, on the red side. But the challenge is clear: United would have to let one of their current keepers go first. That caveat places significant responsibility on United's decision-makers, who must now determine which of their current options, Onana or Bayındar, they are prepared to part with should they press ahead for Donnarumma. It is a dilemma that reflects the club's wider transitional phase, caught between investing heavily in proven quality and remaining cautious with financial fair play regulations. Whether Donnarumma eventually arrives in Manchester may well depend on United's willingness to make a decisive call in the goalkeeping department, one that could shape their fortunes not only for the coming season but for years to come.